Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a tour through the SOLIDWORKs user interface so you actually know what you're looking at. By the end of this video, you'll know where everything lives, how to start a session the right way, and how to move around your model like a pro. Let's get into it. Alright, when you first launch SOLIDWORKs, you'll see the SOLIDWORKs welcome box. It's basically your home screen. You've got your recent files tab right here. You can also access the recent folders right here. It's kind of going to take you to the same place. Press view all, takes you to recent, and then folders. You start from here, the home screen, the home tab, press recent. You can go to all your recent documents that you find, folders, and document groups. On top of the recent tab that you have in your welcome box, you're also going to have a learn tab, and this is where they show you sample tutorials to help you getting started with SOLIDWORKs, step-by-step tutorials, and different training modules. And lastly, you have different alerts given to you from SOLIDWORKs. I never read any of these, to be honest. If you ever have any issues loading SOLIDWORKs, the troubleshooting alerts will be found here. So, most importantly with the welcome box is that it presents the buttons to start a new part, assembly, or drawing. Think of this as your hub world before you actually start jumping into modeling. Now moving on to actually starting a new session. From here, we're going to go ahead and start with part. There's a couple ways that you can actually open up a new part file. You do it from the welcome box by selecting part under the home tab, and then it'll load everything. Our interfaces at this point might look a little different since I have already customized my SOLIDWORKs to show up a few specific things that I want. For instance, the flow simulation tab. I don't believe this is a default one, nor is a simulation. You'll probably load into a screen looks something like with basic model tools as the default tab or features. And then on the right hand side over here, these are also customized tools, which I can explain how to pull up later. Another way to start a new part project, a new part file, is by clicking File, New, and then you're going to select Part again, and then press OK. Now let's go ahead and take a look around. SOLIDWORKs groups its tools by job function. Up top you got the ribbon, also known as the command manager. This is going to present you with different tabs, like I was just mentioning. Basically, basic modeling tools, features, sketch, evaluate, simulation, so forth and so on. On the left is the feature manager tree by default, and this is going to keep track of the whole model like a family genealogy chart. Down below, you'll see the status bar. This is where SOLIDWORKs will allow you to customize your units for the model. It'll also show you the sketch status and warnings. The command manager tree can also be relocated if you feel like it's taking up too much space. You can go ahead and press the collapse command manager tree button here, and then it'll be collapsed. And if you do this by accident, by chance, the way that you can reopen it is by pressing any of the command manager tabs here, and then you can just select the pin tab, and then it'll come right back. If you wanted to, you could also relocate your command manager. You can do this by left-clicking on any of the command manager tabs, and then you can just drag, and then you can dock it on the top, on the left, or the right side. I normally just keep it at the top. Keeps everything simple. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our default reference planes. When you open a new part, the feature manager tree will show you your default reference planes on the left here. You're going to have your front, top, and right plane. By default, the default reference planes are not shown. To view them, you can go ahead and right-click on the front plane and then press Show, and you can do that for the other two as well. And now we are viewing our default reference planes. These are the three original axes that everything branches from. Any sketch, feature, axis, or plane that you make later is basically a descendant from these three reference planes. And when you're choosing which plane to start your sketch, you have to make sure that you choose wisely because it'll affect the orientation once you finish modeling the part. Okay, next let's go ahead and view the document and system properties. At the top of SOLIDWORKs on this little settings button, you can go ahead and press the drop-down menu, and then from here we go to options, and then it'll bring up this pop-up box. Here you're going to see you have system options, and then you have document properties. System options are going to affect SOLIDWORKs globally, and then the document properties are only going to affect the settings within the specific document that you are in. So some things that you're capable of changing here would be units, drafting standards, dimension styles, stuff like that. Here are the units that we can select. Now if we go ahead and select customize instead of option, then we're going to go ahead and get a different menu so we can make some custom keyboard shortcuts. From here we can go to keyboard, and then the ones that we will be using the most are mass properties. Yeah, this one right here. And then you can create a keyboard shortcut. I have Shift Z as mine. And then another one we're going to be using is our command for our equations table. I have it set to Shift Q. And I think those are the two most commonly used ones. If you want to edit your mouse gestures, you can do that as well because I do use this a lot. If you just hold down your right click button and then you move your mouse, you're going to have access to this wheel. If you're in the part model, you're going to have access to these specific features. If you are in a sketch, you're going to have access to these features. If you're in assembly, you have access to these, and drawing, these. I find that I use it most when I'm in sketching, and these are the features that I use the most when I'm sketching. So I have Smart Dimension, Convert Entities, Line, Trim Entities, Circle, Sketch Fillet, Corner Rectangle, and 3-point arc. These are the features that I use the most when I am sketching. And then if you want to edit your shortcut bar, whenever you press S on your keyboard, this is going to pop up, this menu. I have the shaded with edges selected, hidden lines visible selected, change transparency selected. I have reference geometry selected. I believe Whole Wizard is there by default, I'm not sure. I have fillet selected, and then I have normal to, view planes, section view, notes, edit appearance, view orientation, and one of the tools that I use the most is the measure tool. So I would go ahead and recommend adding that one to your shortcut bar. And that's all of the shortcuts that I've added to my SOLIDWORKs. As you start modeling more, if you decided that you need some different features, you can go and just add them in as you go. This is how I feel comfortable when I model, and I think these are some of the best tools and features to have quick access to make yourself proficient as a modeler. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is the task plane, and then that's where these buttons come in. Sometimes this task plane is going to be open by default. You just press anywhere in the white space to collapse it. But if we open it up, we have our design library, we have view palette, appearances, scenes, and decals, and the SOLIDWORKs user form. Within the design library, the tool that you'll probably be using the most is the toolbox. If you open this up, you can go ahead and see that there are various standards here. Two for the US, the ANSI inch, and then the metric. And then if you open these, it'll show you that these various tools, and then they'll come in different standard sizes for different types. Then after that, we have the view palette. Once you have a part modeled, you can then click this palette to view the different orientations of the part, as in the front plane, the front face of the part, the top plane, top face of the part, and then the right. And then you'd also view the isometric, trimetric, and dimetric views of the part as well. And now the last two things that we're going to be talking about is utilizing the feature manager tree rollback bar, and that's what this little blue line is right here. If we happen to have made a mistake in our modeling process, then you can go ahead and click this, drag it up, and then it'll suppress all the features underneath the blue line. And as you can see, all those features disappeared on our model. And to view it, once again, you just hold down the scroll wheel button, and then you can drag and you can view the model. And then to go back to the isometric view, you just go ahead and press Control 7. And then if you were to make changes, as you can see here, the dynamic reference visualization tool is being used. It's showing you where the parent feature is for this fillet. So this fillet is only existing because this extrude exists. And then this extrude affects, comes from the origin on the front plane, and then as you can see in the purple lines, it's showing you what's coming after that based off this extrusion. And then you can go ahead and move the rollback bar down, and then you get certain features back. like so. And now the last couple things I want to be looking at. If we were to go into this extrude feature, just press edit feature or any of the features, we're going to be able to see this kind of another drop-down menu here. If you press this arrow, we call this the flyout manager tree, and it's a combination of the feature manager tree plus the property manager tree. And from here, you'll be able to select certain properties or features along your feature manager tree. Closing out of that. And then the last thing is the heads up view toolbar, as can be seen right here. You're going to have a few different options. This first one is normal to. So if I selected this face on the part right here and I press normal to, it's going to take me to a normal view where I see the face that I selected straight on. So if I was to select another one, if I do this one, press normal to, then it takes me to this perspective. It's also helpful when you're editing a component. So if I was to edit in this, edit the sketch here, and then I happen to go like change my orientation on accident, you just press normal to or control 8, and then it'll take you back to your sketch. Discard changes as an exit. And then after that, we have our normal select function, our normal select tool. We also have pan, so if you were to do this, you can just drag it around. We have our rotate view, so if you wanted to see a different perspective, you could also do this, again, just by holding down the scroll wheel, click. You can do the same thing. The next feature is the zoom to fit option, so if you were to be like really zoomed in somewhere on the part and then you got too close, you would press zoom to fit or F, and then it takes you to where you can see the entire component. Or you can do the opposite and zoom to area. You just highlight a certain area, and then you can zoom to it. As you can see, you just keep going. One of the most useful features here is the view orientation drop-down menu. From here, it shows up this kind of like cube looking thing, and then you could either select the back face, you see the left face, the bottom face, shows you the bottom side, or you can select a specific corner, edge, or face on the cube itself, like so. Another way to access this is by pressing the spacebar, and it automatically opens up. And then if you ever decide to save a view, you can find them here. If you want to go normal to, you can do that here. And then you could also establish your isometric, dimetric, and trimetric views. And then if you want to create a new view, you can go and press new view, and then it'll ask you for the option to save. That's where you see that save option. And then this is where you could also change your axis orientation. As you can see down here in the bottom left corner, we have Y, the Y direction facing upward. If you wanted, you can go and make that the Z direction, and that'll change the orientation of your part or assembly. You don't really need to mess with this too much. It really just depends on the application, but majority of the time you can just leave it as Y up. All right, and then after that we have our display state feature, where you can select the shaded with edges. That's what the state that we're currently in. You can do just shaded, so that way it looks a little bit different. You can do hidden lines removed, so you just see the exterior part. And then we have hidden lines visible, and this is where you can see these hidden lines represent that there's been material removed. And the last one is wireframe. Basically the same thing as the hidden displayed visible, but instead you have solid lines instead of dashed lines. And then we have our section view tool. From here you can view your part as if it were cut in half, or cut at an arbitrary line, as you can see here. And then if you want to select a different plane, so you wanted to see how it looks cut, so you can even do radial, so select an axis or an area that you want to have it cut by, then you can just move it around like so. Pretty cool feature. And then lastly, you have your high showed items feature where you can decide if you want to view all the planes, axes, coordinate systems, points, and a bunch of other stuff. Mainly I use this just to select the view planes option. So by default, the view planes are hidden, so we can go ahead and show them. And now that you see them here, we can go ahead and select the drop-down menu and then press view planes, turns them off, turns back on. This just helps get rid of them quickly, but I also like having them turned on by default in case you needed to select a specific plane. Another way to access this quickly is by pressing the S button, and then you have this menu pop up like we discussed in the previous video, and then I have it set right here. A couple keyboard shortcuts, so to speak. We already know about the Control 8, the press F, zoom to fit. Another way to do it is by double-clicking your middle mouse button. It zooms to fit there, and then if you hold down Control and then click the mouse wheel again, you can drag instead of having to press the pan tool, and then by default scroll to zoom. Okay, that wraps up our SOLIDWORKs interface tour. Once you get comfortable where these things are and what they do, everything else becomes very easy. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and start practicing our modeling with sketches and then features, and then we're just going to make various arbitrary parts just to help you get comfortable with everything we've learned so far.